everybody. This video may be a little bit long because I'm showing you how to pick, blanch, freeze, and make a recipe. So I hope you'll stick to the end. Hey, good morning, guys. Denise with Lazy K Homestead. Hope you guys are doing well. Well, it's a Saturday morning, kind of mid-morning. Still nice and shady over here. And I thought I'd go ahead and do a little video on collard greens. I planted some bunching collard greens, and they were from seed. And I planted them and I grew them in the greenhouse, and then I planted them in our raised bed here. One of the raised beds that we put a lot of stuff in, as you can see. I've got cabbages all the way around. The collard greens are in the middle, and then I've got blueberries. So quite a bunch of things together, wouldn't you say? But anyway, with these bunching collard greens, you can just take a pair of scissors or a knife and just go and snip them down. They don't have the really tough stems like the collard greens that you get in the store, and I've grown them before. So I think I'm going to like these better. We love collard greens. And it's going to look like a lot. And I noticed that I have possibly some little pests in here. So let's see what we've got. I'm just gonna go all the way down. I had to cover this because the chickens, and I think this is chickens, they love anything like cabbage and broccoli and collard greens. So I'm just kind of go down here and grab them and cut them. Look at that. Now that might seem like a lot, but once you blanch it or cook it down for your meal, like any kind of green, mustard green, turnip green, kale, it really cooks down a lot, but that's okay. And these really smell good. They're not as strong as other collard greens, and I can't tell you the name of the ones that I grew before. And Clarence is over there. He always wants to be in the video. So go ahead and put these in my basket, and with me cutting them down like this, they will come back all year. And I can keep these in here, and they should go through the winter. Most collard greens that I've ever grown, they will come back year after year. And I do like that about greens. We are going to get quite a lot. Really happy with how tender they are. See, I want to show you. Look, you can just snap that in half. Collard greens that you get in the store are really thick. Willis likes them, but he doesn't like the tough stem. So I thought I would try these. And I think he's going to be very happy with the way these are. And this will also give the cabbage and everybody a little bit more of the nutrients that we have in here. We amended this soil with composted chicken, turkey, and rabbit manure, and then we topped it with fresh rabbit manure, because rabbit manure is from the butt to the garden. You don't have to wait on that. And that's what we use our rabbits for here, is the wonderful manure that they provide. So I'm almost done here. Get every little bit that I possibly can. Okay, well, I think that's pretty good. Oh, nope, there's one more there. Oh, wow, I'm really pleased with that. Let me show you my basket full. Look at that. And I think this is a half bushel basket. So let's go in the house. First picking. Okay, guys, well, I brought my basket in of collard greens that I picked out in the garden this morning. And I am filling my sink up with cold water. And basically all we're going to do here is just let them sit in this cold water, rinse off any dirt or insects or anything like that that might be on them, just hidden little things. And I'm going to let them sit in here for a little while, possibly a half hour or so. And I am in the middle of watering my garden outside, the many gardens we have, because it is dry as a bone out there. I've got the soaker hoses on the raised beds. But anyway, this is what we've got for now. And as soon as a half hour has passed, I'm going to come back and I look at every leaf and make sure that we don't have any kind of insect bites like that. See that in there? If we do, I'll just tear that off and the chickens will be so grateful. But this leaf looks beautiful. And you want to make sure with anything that you are bringing in from the garden that you don't have any insects or insect deposits, eggs, anything like that, manure. And you're just going to go ahead and let that sit. Okay, well, I went ahead and I washed all my greens. I went through every single leaf, made sure there wasn't any insects or dirt. I got really lucky with these because they're the first picking. I haven't seen any of those little butterflies that like to fly around cabbage and stuff yet. So I didn't see any eggs or anything that I really had to wash off. And I didn't have a whole lot of sand or anything. But you always want to make sure that you do wash it off. I just think it's a good precaution. You would do that if you bought it from the store too, right? And I only got a little bit here that I'm going to give the chickens. And some of that was where I had some insect bites, and I thought maybe these were just a little bit thick here. They seemed a little tough, especially like that one. So anyway, the chickens will get that later. They will be tickled. So what I've done, I'll bring you guys over here, is, let me put the tripod so you can see. I've got my water boiling so I can blanch. And what I'm also going to do is, once I've blanched it, I'm going to put it in baggies. And I think I've got them covered up over here. Yep. Freezer bags. Really recommend freezer bags. And I'll show you what we're going to do. It's just like when I did the broccoli a couple days ago. And you're going to want to make sure you have as much water out of this as possible so you don't have freezer burn. If you've got a food saver, that's even better. I do have a food saver, but I'm out of bags, so I have to go order some because I do like to use them too. Especially if you have a lot that you know you're not going to be eating right away, you know, in the next month or so, maybe 3 months. I recommend food saver if you can possibly do it because you can get freezer burn. It's kind of nasty. So anyway, what I'm going to do too is once I've got all this blanched, I'm going to take some of it out and I'm going to show you how I cook it with bacon and onion and spices and a little vinegar. So you guys have a little recipe if you ever have collards. I also use this for turnips and mustard greens. Kale, yeah, I use it for that too. I've got kale that I'm going to plant this fall in one of the raised beds. So we'll have lots of greens. Good for you. Okay, so what we're going to do next, while this is getting ready to boil, we want it to come to a rolling boil so we can blanch. I'm going to go ahead and back you up here. All that beautiful green. Look at that, guys. I'm going to go ahead and I've got a bowl here. And I am going to just chop this because this is just a little bit too big. Now it's completely up to you how you want to blanch your greens. I like to chop my collard greens because they are large. Let me go ahead and put that down so you can see. And these are the stems, and like I said, they are nice and tender, and they'll even be more tender once I blanch them. I'm just going to put everything in my bowl here. Let's see if I can put that so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Sorry. There we go. And once that comes to a boil, I'll blanch everything. Now you can chop this even more if you want to. You can julienne it or however you want to do it. I wouldn't recommend putting this in a food processor or anything because it'll really bruise the leaves, and you don't want them to be bruised because they'll turn to mush. So we're just going to get all that done. And it's just a rough chop. Some of this I might give to the chickens as I go through it. We'll see. Just stick it in there. And when I do get to blanching this, it'll be for 1 minute in the boiling water. And then we will put it in ice water and we will shock it, because that does stop the cooking process. And you do that for most everything that you're going to freeze or can. I do that with tomatoes and any kind of green, because you don't want it to cook down to where, especially if you're going to pressure can, you don't want things to become mush in your pressure can. And I do pressure can my tomatoes. A lot of people water bath, but I have always pressure canned them. For us, we just feel like it's the best way to go. I get most of my information from the Ball Blue book. A lot of people like to make sure that they've got something like that. I think the United States is the only, where I live, is one of the only countries that regulates things like that, from what I've understood. So, which is fine. I mean, they don't come to your house and check. That sounded crazy, didn't it? So, but we do have a book that'll give you the times, the weights for your pressure canning, and if you, can water bath it, or can it, or freeze it. So, just a good guideline book, that's for sure. Okay. Some friends of mine, they only go by the Ball Blue book. Now, I have watched other YouTubers that have been doing things for a long time, and myself, that I learned over 50 years ago to do, and I know that it's a good way to do things, and I do it. Canning, freezing, stuff like that. Well, we're almost here to where it's chopped. Okay. And as soon as my water comes to boil, guys, we'll be back. Okay, we've got the pot boiling. I didn't want to watch it because it wasn't boiling, so that's why I stepped away from it. But you can see it's at a rolling boil. I'm going to go ahead and turn it down just to medium high, which will still keep it boiling, but it won't be as active. So what we're going to do now is just going to go ahead and just take that collard greens and just go ahead and put them down in there, like so. It'll stop the boiling for just a minute because they are cold, but it'll start up again. All right, and you don't want to pack it down too much, but just enough where you can still see some water. Okay, it's starting to boil again. I'm going to go ahead and time it for 1 minute, and then what we'll do is we'll put it in the sink where I've got the ice water, and that will shock it. Now, if you don't have much, just like when I was blanching the broccoli the other day, I just used a big glass bowl because that was easy, but I do have a lot of this. I don't know how much it's going to make once it's all blanched, because like I was telling you out in the garden, greens cook down. So but that's okay. We'll have lots and lots of greens off of those bunching collards. And I'll put a link in the description to what kind they are. Because, like I said, I had grown them in the greenhouse, and I actually just had them in a pot. And they grew right in the pot, and I kept them um, watered. And if I didn't have the raised bed to put them in, I was just going to keep them in that pot. And it was about this deep. And you could just do that. Keep it on your patio or your porch or whatever. If you want to do container gardening, it would be a great container plant. And then you just go and you just snip it off as you need it. I would make sure that you do it regularly because you don't want them to get tough and chewy. You want your greens to be nice and tender. Okay, this is done here, so I'm going to back us up right here and put this down so you can see what I'm doing. I hope. Let's see. Get it. There we go. I always have a towel here because I'm short, and that happens. Water happens. Okay, what I'm going to do, just go ahead and lift these out and put them right in there. My clean sink with my ice water. Boy, they smell really good. These are really pretty. And just look at that color. Isn't that gorgeous? My goodness. This is like my favorite time of year. I love Christmas and Thanksgiving, but I tell you what, when it's harvest time and planting time, gardening time, I just love it. Kind of makes you feel alive. We live on the Cumberland Plateau in Tennessee, and it is a very long winter here. Even though people say, well, you're in the South, well, the Cumberland Plateau is actually Zone 6B, so we are 2 weeks behind people in Tennessee that don't live on top of this mountain plateau that we do. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and do this again. My water is boiling down there, so I'm just going to go ahead and add more. Let's see. And you see it kind of like it just melts into the pot. I'm melting. Melting. Like the Wizard of Oz. The Wicked Witch. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and pour all that in there. Now, if y'all don't want to eat the stems, you don't have to. It's completely up to you. I like because it gives us a little bit of crunch. It's good for you. It's got all the nutrition that the leaves have. And it's nice texture change from just leaves. And it's good fiber. All right. So we're just going to go ahead and wait for that to come to a little bit of a boil, and I'll blanch it, time it at 1 minute, and we'll put it in here. So I'll be back. While we're waiting for that last batch to finish its boil, what I've done is I have my big glass bowl with a colander in it, and I'm just going to set this down in the other sink right here. And I am going to put all the greens in the colander right here so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Yeah. So they're nice and cool. And you want to make sure that you wait until they're cool because you want these to drain. Get as much water as possible. You would do spinach the same way as you would do greens because they are a green too. And you just want to make sure everything is nice and cool. And it looks like that is almost ready over there. And it doesn't matter if I put this next batch of hot on top. All right, here we come with that. Go ahead and put all these beautiful greens right in there. Oh, just love it. Now make sure when you're using your spatula or whatever to take your greens out that you have something that's not going to splatter, because these do get heavy in the water. Don't want you to splatter your face with the hot water because it is very hot. It was boiling. So that is all to this. We are just waiting for it to drain, and we will put it in our bags. And then we are going to go ahead and cook the collard greens like we cook them, so you guys will see what to do with them. Okay guys, we are back, and we are going to go ahead and cook collard greens the way that we like to cook them. Now, if you have fresh collards, you don't have to blanch them. You just go ahead and boil them down in the water, just like you would spinach or anything else. But I'm going to go ahead and use the first batch that we blanched. They're kind of al dente, so we are going to have to cook them down. So what I do first is I have a big skillet. Now let me go ahead and put the tripod down and you see what I'm doing. This is a pretty big skillet. If you want to use a something like this, you can if you've got that much. But I'm going to go ahead and just use this. What I'm going to do is put on medium-high. And this recipe calls for bacon, onion, butter, vinegar, white vinegar I like to use. If you want to use apple cider, that's completely up to you. We like the white vinegar. And salt and pepper to taste. Vinegar is to taste. And 1 cayenne pepper that is dried, or pepper flakes if that's what you have on hand. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the bacon in here. And it is just chopped coarsely. And we're going to let it come to a sizzle. And what I'm doing is I'm rendering this down, and I'm going to take the bacon out after it is crispy. So let's get over here and see what we're doing. And there we go. You see it in there? Yep. You can probably hear it too. Now, if you just have bacon grease, you can use that too. And this is hickory smoked, sliced right at our local country store. Oh, it smells so good. Okay, the bacon is as crispy as I want it. I'm just going to go ahead and take it out, put it on a plate, and set it aside. The reason I do that is I don't like when the bacon gets really rubbery when you are putting it in water to boil down something. I always do that after my bacon if you're going to make green beans or anything. Okay, now what I'm going to do is put 2 tablespoons of butter. And you might think it's a lot of fat, but it gives it a lot of flavor because your fat is your flavor. And while that is melting down, I'm going to go ahead and I have 1 whole Vidalia onion. Now you can use any kind of onion you want. I happen to have these. Picked them up the other day. I try to pick them up whenever they're in season. Okay. And if you guys noticed, when I had all of my ingredients out, I had 2 cutting boards. And the reason I did that is you want to cut your meat on one and you want to cut your vegetables on another. You don't want to have any kind of cross-contamination, even at your own house. Very important. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and let the onions saute until they are translucent, and we'll be back. Okay, we've got the onions to where I want them, nice and translucent. They're in the bacon grease and butter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put all of this collard greens in here. And I'm just going to mix it up with the onions and the bacon grease and the butter. Oh, it smells so good. Yum. Go ahead and turn it up a little bit more to a medium high, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some water, salt, and pepper in here, and we're basically going to braise this. We're not boiling it, we're going to braise it. Okay. Now you can boil greens down, it's completely up to you. I put them in the crock pot overnight. But since these are already blanched, they're halfway cooked. Okay. And I'm going to put some salt, pretty generous salt to taste, and pepper. I don't know. I didn't think I had it. I have to use this. Black pepper. Okay. And we're just going to go ahead and let that cook down. And basically what I want is the little stems and everything to get to where they're not crunchy, but still have texture. Okay, what I'm also going to do, I've got that cayenne. Let's see if I can get it in the picture. Sorry. Now I just went ahead and did a rough chop. You might think that's a lot of cayenne pepper. Well, these are dehydrated, and we dehydrated them here, grew them and everything. And when you dehydrate them and you open them up, the seeds fall right out. So the seeds are your heat, so I'm not too worried about that. Plus you want a little bit of heat in your green. Okay, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Oh my gosh. Now, these are going to cook, like I said, they're going to braise, which is kind of like a little simmer boil. And then I'm not going to put the vinegar in yet because I don't want the vinegar to lose its flavor. Now, I just wanted to tell you this does take quite a long time for it to cook down. So we are almost at an hour now. And what I did was I went ahead and I'm going to pour in the vinegar. And this is about a quarter cup. Now, again, it's to taste. I add a little bit of sugar. Probably, I don't know, a teaspoon, not much, but to taste. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and stir that in there. I did add more water as it was cooking down. And you are going to have the pot liquor in here, which is the juice. Let me go ahead and show you that. There you go. And I'm just going to go ahead and cook that just a little bit longer. I'm going to taste it just a minute here to see if I have to add anything else. Salt, pepper. So, let's see. Maybe a little bit more salt. Greens do take a lot of salt because they are pretty bland. But however you want to add salt, you can. If you want to add lemon juice to them, you can. It's up to you. But we will be back in just a minute. I'm just going to go ahead and let that cook for about 15 more minutes, and it will be ready. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it up to not quite medium high, but almost. And put the lid back on. Okay, guys, it is done. Now that big, beautiful, vibrant green color that we had when we blanched it and we first started cooking this will be gone. It's more of a kind of a muted green, but you'll know that your collard greens are finished. I'm going to go ahead and put my bacon in here. Just kind of stir it around. I want to bring the camera over so you can see how beautiful this dish is. Let me go ahead and turn off that stove. Look at that. You can see the onions, the bacon, the greens. Oh my goodness, there's little pieces of the cayenne pepper in there. Wow, just gorgeous. Okay, well, what I'm going to do now is go ahead and put it in my serving dish. Right. Okay. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that ingredients that I put in here, like the vinegar, salt and pepper, even the cayenne, you guys do that to taste whatever is good. But if you do want to make this recipe, I don't think you'll be disappointed. But here it is, delicious collard greens. We picked fresh today from the garden to the table. So I hope y'all enjoy and have a great day from Lazy K Homestead. Bye.